3 million years from Earth, the Red Dwarf Podcast. Thanks for the memory. Its crew, Blake Braswell, a USA native, and Lee Malaby, his English co-host. Additional. Traveling on a Red Dwarf journey with my partner Lee has hit a speed bump as he doesn't appreciate how we are currently in the middle of peak dwarf. Still, could be worse. He could be a Tottenham supporter. What's up, Smegheads, and welcome to Series 5, Episode 4 of Thanks for the Memory, a Red Dwarf podcast where we rewatch every episode of the BBC comedy show Red Dwarf and discuss them, and where you have to listen to Blake in anticipation, see if he's able to crack his partner Lee up.
It's easy done, to be fair, but that was a really funny one. I did like that, especially off the back of the last episode.
And I wrote it yesterday.
No, well, that is so good. I mean, I know we briefly discussed the last episode off air before we recorded it, but yeah, that's brilliant. I love that you sort of preempted the whole conversation. Brilliant. All right, let's get to it. So this episode, the one we are talking about today, is the 4th episode of Series 5. It is episode 4, Quarantine, which originally aired in the UK on March 12th, 1992. Oh my God, I was like... How old was I then? Like 16?
I was about to turn 12 the next month.
Yeah, I think I turned 16 that year, maybe. Or 17 that year. Wow. That was a long time ago.
You're old when you're going, wait, how? Yeah. I mean, luckily I was born in 1980, so the math is easy for me.
Yeah, I was 16. I turned 16 in 91. So yes, I'll have been 16. Wow. At a research complex on an ice planet, the crew find the hologram of Dr. Landstrom, who has been infected with a holovirus that turned her mad. Back on the Red Dwarf, the crew are subjected to quarantine by Rimmer, who's also been infected. Spoilers. I hope you've watched this episode first, by the way. Everyone. We have 3 times. This is one of those quintessential Red Dwarf episodes that whether you remember I said this on the last episode, whether you remember it specifically or not, that red gingham dress with Penguin Mr. Fibble would be burned into your memory as a Red Dwarf fan. And
is that it's Mr. Fibble's Fibble's first and last appearance, yet in the fandom is front and center.
Yes.
And my wife loves penguins, loves them. And I could not wait to get to this episode with her. So we're watching through.
I love how he had a different voice from Rimmer as well, even though it was just his hand puppet.
Well, and so this does one of my favorite things to your point of having a memory. So I have this memory of the show, and it's 2 things. It's the arguments. It's them being in quarantine, right? The arguments in quarantine with each other, and then the Rimmer showing back up having been infected. Those are all so full and rich moments that in my brain, they are longer than they are.
Yes.
And it's this show constantly does this to me, especially as we've said before, I've not really watched these recently. So this rewatch is great because I have these memories of these episodes, and I feel like certain things are so much more in the episode than they actually are. In this episode, I mean, that probably is the last third or quarter of the episode when you get to that point. But there's a lot going on. I wrote this. I said first, this is one of my absolute favorite episodes. I like Terraform a whole lot, and I said it's one of my favorites. Quarantine starts to push into we'll call the S tier categories for me, our Queeg territories and stuff. I really like this episode a whole lot.
Blake, you are really down with the kids, aren't you? Using that terminology, the S tier.
S tier. Yep, there you go. I don't even know what is that? Why did that?
I have no clue what it means.
Is it cream of the crop? No, what?
I don't know, because isn't it S? There's S and A, and it doesn't make any sense.
Top, but we couldn't just do that.
I don't understand what it means. But anyway, yes, this feels... So I alluded to this at the end of the last episode.
Here you go, Lee. It originates from Japan. It's used to note the highest level of performance, exceeding A tier. So here you go. That's where it comes from.
Odd.
I don't know why it came over here into the UK, but there you go.
I don't think I haven't heard it as much over here as I have from US people. But yes, going back to something I kind of talked about on the last episode of these episodes coming in pairs, where the last episode was a big concept, big episode. This is a big concept and much more of a smaller episode. It definitely feels more like a Series 2, Series 3 episode where, yes, you get that initial bit where they're on the ice planet. And again, we talked about this. That whole model scene with Starbug and like it looks like the Thing.
It does.
And it's so clever. It looks so good. There's a lot of that in this episode, which again, you kind of said, this is the cheaper episode of the two. It doesn't necessarily feel that way at all.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't to me at all. Because like I said, the moments are so full and impactful. And I just remember all of them to where in my memory, they are actually longer than they are or they're, and I guess when you look at it, you get the model shot of the outsourced, but then the interior is just some who knows where where they've been filming other stuff.
Yes,
that's supposed to be the interior of the Red Dwarf ship, but
but it works.
It does. It's nothing crazy, but even the nest of stasis pods and stuff like that, I feel it looks good, and like it does not feel like it's the cheap episode. Like
not at all.
It is one of the best episodes. But Marooned is an episode where they can save money, right?
Yes.
And even if it was to save money, it feels like, to me, it would more like, we wrote this great episode. It's also will save us money because it was just a great episode first, right?
100%.
What do they call it? The old term, the bottle episode, where it takes place in one spot because they got to save some money.
Yeah. But when you rate an episode that good, it doesn't matter. Like you're not thinking like, oh, this is a cheap episode. Just like Marooned was a really good episode.
Yeah, Marooned was so good. And I don't, this just does not feel, I don't want to say Marooned feels cheap. Marooned doesn't, but when you finish watching it and talk about it, you go, oh yeah, really only in one spot, two guys. Yeah, this probably was a cheaper episode, but it doesn't matter. It was so good.
Yeah.
This is one of those where if you're clever enough, it doesn't feel that way. Like one of the reasons James Cameron is so good or got the career he got early in his career is because Terminator, Aliens, these are actually cheap films. Like they were not expensive films. He came out of working like on Piranha 2 or something, right? When he got like, they are,
it's about,
they don't look cheap.
Yeah. It's about using your budget in the right places, isn't it?
Yes.
And I feel like this episode's very much that.
Absolutely. Like and the whole thing, even our guest actress on this one, she's great. Like, every little thing they do. But the show just starts, man, it starts in a way where I just love when you get a glimpse of them being a crew for a moment. And it just, you imagine how many other adventures and things they've been done. But that whole Crichton, launch scouter, sir. Oh, wait a minute. Much as whatever the line about some of the robot that's responsible for cleaning lavatories. Yes. I'm in command and I say launch scouter. And just Kat's face of just not looking anywhere. But and again, I said previous episode, they're really doing a good job of spreading the love out to the whole cast. And Kat's friggin' delivery when he's like, I'll go, Rimmer's like, I'll go in the back, whatever, screw it. And Crichton's like, would you please be so kind to launch the scouter, sir? And Kat's, aye, sir, launching scouter, sir. Like, it's so loud and like just, in some ways, though they don't always plan for us to watch it how we've watched it, it is a good leapfrog right off the back of the previous episode. We're like, no, we didn't mean any of that.
And it plays into that as well. Again, it's like you're starting to see how much Crichton's becoming part of the crew, that he has kind of leapfrogged Rimmer at this point, and Rimmer knows it, and it pisses him off.
Yeah.
That's why he's been so to him in this episode, like calling the Bogbot or the Kazi. And again, I think we talked about this 2 episodes ago, that you forget that Crichton is just a service droid.
Yeah. Captain Bogbot.
Yeah, and then it's nice that it gets brought up in this, because like, oh yeah, you forget that's all he is. He's there to look after the humans. He's not there as like a captain or a pilot or an engineer. He is literally just a service mechanoid. And yet, because he's the only one there and has sort of slightly more knowledge of a lot of things than the rest of the crew does, he comes across as this sort of higher entity among the crew than he actually is.
And if you think about it, his superpower is actually that he's a computer for a brain. It remembers everything.
Yeah.
Right. So it kind of makes sense that he's different now. He wasn't able, to me at least, in this, again, I know sometimes we're kind of filling in the gap because we're actually watching these sequentially, like a broader story. It makes sense to me that he is how he was in season 3, and here for series 5, he's more advanced, but it's not really more advanced. He just remembers.
Yeah, he's just learned more stuff.
Yeah, he's learned more stuff. It's not like all of a sudden he's this like science officer. He's just been learning stuff.
Yeah.
But he's just learning more stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's his superpower. And I do love Rimmer's. You've changed. They may not have seen it, but I've seen it.
And I think it kind of shows Rimmer up as well, that it's like Crichton has evolved because he has learnt more stuff. And the fact that they have nothing really else to do, Rimmer, again, this is probably me just projecting more on it, realises that he could have done the same, he just can't be bothered. Like, he could have been learning stuff and he just hasn't.
I'm a hologram. As long as this light beam works and doesn't get damaged, in theory, I could live forever. I'm going to learn a new language. I'm going to do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
which he was. Something. If you go back to like the first couple of seasons, he was like that. And now he's just completely given up.
Yeah. And the whole crew has to it a bit too. Like, in certain aspects, which is why I think the show goes where it ends up going. I think what we're talking about hitting on here will come up a lot at the end of series 6 than going into the next ones and stuff. I do love the face. Again, it's just this thing of like the guys have all been working together so much now that like, even the acting beats together they do are so great. The whole, well, there's a problem with this, or had you forgotten, gentlemen, on the Crimson Short one can only support one hologram. And the dead, no line, just the look that all 3 of them have.
Yeah, it's like,
you hadn't forgotten. Had you?
Again, you can see the joke coming a mile away, but it's hilarious anyway.
Yeah. Well, we'll get some kind of timeshare.
Brilliant. I do have to ask. So Miss Hildegard Langstrom is a hologram, yes? And I nearly jumped on it immediately. It's like, if she's a hologram, why is she in that stasis pod? I can't remember what the explanation was, but they do actually explain why she's in it.
Right, that she, I don't know why she would have ice on her nose, but she can't, her time, what is it? It makes you stronger, but your lifespan is
That's
shorter.
right,
So
yes.
So she'll burn out.
I don't see how that would work, but all right. How does a hologram affected by a virus have hex vision that can affect things?
I don't know, but we're going to get into hollow whips in the next episode or two. So there's more to come.
But that's something specifically created for that purpose. If she's got a virus, why? If she can't touch anything, why can her hex vision?
Well, but she can pick up stuff with her telekinesis, so maybe I don't.
I know. I'm just being an ass, but
like I'm trying to she has hex vision. That's sort of the power she gets. Telekinesis and psychic powers are kind of the
Again,
it's that old idea that's been debunked. Humans only use 10% of their brain.
Yes.
But if you could use all 100%, you could be a super, hero.
Yes.
I think it's kind of that thing.
And
I do want to go back to one joke that came back. Though.
Okay.
I do love that. No reference, no trying to explain to anyone what it is. But when he's like, you've changed, haven't you? I haven't seen it. And he leaves. And then Crichton goes, what a shmee.
Oh, yeah.
What a shmee. What a shmee. And it's great because if you haven't seen from series 4, that joke doesn't necessarily make sense.
Yes.
So they are doing jokes that are relying on people knowing the material more than they had ever done before.
But then also shows that, yes, Crichton's evolved a little bit, but he still has trouble lying.
Great. He still's got to fight through everything.
Yes.
And I do love the reaction of the live studio audience to it. Like, this old joke came back. Anyway, but no, there are some like Langstrom questions scientifically. That you're like, wait, how does this work? But I will say, man, one of my favorite visual gags from the show is the bit where they walk into the facility and he wipes and instead of just wiping the whole sign off, that he wipes it in sections, wipe once, viral research lab. And they all put the cloth to their face and then wipe, most gross danger or whatever. Like,
and then the picture.
And that final safety placard of like vomiting and your intestines coming out. Like, but again, things that I feel like have been part of the show forever and haven't. It's the Psy-Scan's first appearance.
That was in the last one.
Was the Psy-Scan in the
I think
last
so.
one?
Because he was saying it was like an upgrade from the last version or something. They did reference it. He did have it. I'm trying to remember. Not the last episode, sorry. The episode before.
Oh,
it was in
right.
Justice. It was in there. Because I think you brought it up then.
They brought it up, but they hadn't really used it yet.
No.
This is the first time he's really like because it was a one-off, right?
And again, you want to talk about him delivering lines earnestly where he's got, and it's like, scan, and we're going to live.
Yeah. It's no worries, sir. If it was dangerous, the Psy-Scan would have picked it up by now. And like the just moment of silence, then whack, whack. Damn cheap Martian power pack.
And we're going to live. Yes.
that whole conversation. Sorry, if you'll forgive me, sir. Just takes a moment for the old one to boot up. Still, it did beat the previous version. 9 out of 10 tests. And that's where like the C-3PO-ish comes out in it that cracks me up. Like, so, as if his programming knows, in stressful situations, humans do not like silence. Make sure to fill the space.
So I'm going to say then, do we get an alien reference in this again? But a quite veiled one. So they go back on to Red Dwarf. Wait for it, Blake, because I'm sure you'll agree. They go back on to Red Dwarf and Holly comes up and goes, there's a problem. The cargo bay doors won't open. Why is that? Because Rimmer's put a lock on them. So they get locked out in quarantine and Rimmer won't let them in. Is that an alien reference when they try to bring, what's his face, back on the ship at the beginning and Ash won't let them?
Not Ash, Ripley won't let them.
Oh, yes, sorry. Ash is the one that, yes, you're right.
Lets them in.
Oh, terrible. All you alien fans, look, it's been a week.
It's not been a week since I saw it last, so we're fine. But I mean, maybe that's true. I hadn't thought about that.
I mean, it probably not, but you could. How many times have we commented on this podcast that there's been
constantly
alien references or like just sci-fi episodes or movies or whatever in general? It just feels very much like what would have been funnier is for Holly to have like let them in and actually done a proper alien reference.
To reference to our other loves of things, I just watched the 30-minute or so documentary that someone worked to put together about the alien war sort of interactive haunted house thing that was in London.
Yes.
So good. I should send you the link. It's wild to see because it predates a lot of things that we like, and it's nuts how they almost did it. They did it first.
Yes, but I remember. So I bought. We're going to go off on a tangent here. So I remember buying the Alien trilogy. Might have even been the quadrilogy box set. Blake, I don't remember that thing. It was the VHS copy, and it came in a huge plastic box with like a molded face hugger on the front.
Oh yeah,
I had that, and there was a flyer in there for Alien 1, and I was only a kid still at the time, so I was like, oh my God, I would have loved to have done this.
Yeah, but like, so the reason I bring it up is though, it's funny, the Alien mythos has come back. I know this is the 90s and Aliens came out in 86, but it was back in the conversation in the UK at this point because of Alien. Do you know what I'm saying? So
yes.
I feel like it never quite goes away, but I'll send you that documentary.
I wouldn't mind watching that, especially like, when we've kind of alluded to it. Big Halloween Horror Nights fan, Blake, on the other side of it.
I'm sitting there watching it. This little Dr. Karen went, they did it before we did. Because I was like, this is really cool to see. I'll send it your way. You're going to have the same thoughts I did. Wait, how do they do the tail move so well? It's like, it's really good.
Okay. See, I didn't get to see the Alien versus Predator house at Horror Nights. I was quite disappointed, especially because it felt like it was an Aliens house with a bit of Predator shoved in for good measure.
Yeah, we cheated. I wasn't there for that one, but it was definitely
It definitely looked like that. It definitely wasn't Alien versus Predator. It was Aliens with a bit of Predator. But anyway.
With a bit of Predator.
We digress.
We do. We might have been talking about the new Predator trailer before recording this with the alien, the Wayland Yutani, and I'm wearing my Wayland Yutani Aspen beer shirt right now from the first Alien. We never get far away from it.
No, we don't record these episodes in a bubble. Life goes on around it, and we're enveloped in pop culture.
we should have brought up the other alien reference, because not for nothing, in the previous episode of Terraform, the shot of the creature's legs with the tail, I mean, it's very reminiscent of the xenomorph.
It is,
like,
you're right.
For sure. I did want to say, this is a good segue, talking about the other things that we enjoy. The fact that in this episode, you know, the whole, as you mentioned from the side scan, and we're going to live. What a real Mickey Mouse operation, aren't we?
Yes.
And then cats, Mickey Mouse, hell, we ain't even Betty Boo. I'm like, God, in the same episode, we get a Mickey Mouse and a Betty Boo reference. Disney and Universal, bam, bam.
It's interesting how you said Betty Boo.
Yeah.
Not Betty Boop.
Because he doesn't say Betty Boop.
No,
right?
I don't think he does. I noticed that and I'm like, Betty Boo. Do you know who Betty Boo is?
I don't. I just assumed it was Betty Boop.
So I assumed, I guess that's what it is, whether he said it that way for a reason. But Betty Boo was a rapper in like the late 90s. I'm assuming she wasn't around at this point. I guess he just either missaid it or
I don't know. Betty Boo doing the do's in 1990 official videos.
Oh, this came out then, was it? All right. I wasn't sure when it was. But yes. Do you know that song?
I don't, but that can't be what he had to have been referencing Betty Boop, right?
So do you think it... See, we're definitely going to go down a tangent right now, people. So my argument would be, he didn't say Betty Boop because there's a licensing issue there, right? But then you're still saying Betty Boo, so surely there's still a copyright issue there.
But that's a person's name. Hold on. I might have I found an IMDb thing that might... Did you find it?
No.
So her stage name was taken from the flirty cartoon character in 1930s Betty Boop, whom people thought that she resembled. However, the copyright owners of the cartoon objected to the use of the full name, so she dropped the P to Betty Boo. So
maybe they were referencing her.
But maybe they were referencing Betty Boop, but they
did it the same way around.
Yeah, I don't know. But they said Mickey Mouse. You can say Mickey Mouse. I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, that is interesting. So they're not allowed to say Betty Boop, but they can reference Mickey Mouse. I do find it funny how... Is that a saying in America? Like, cheap, crappy stuff's like a Mickey Mouse. Is that a thing, or is it just over here?
Oh yeah. So Dog and Pony. We have Dog and Pony Show. It's a circus. The Mickey Mouse operation. Mickey Mouse operation, I hear a lot.
So it's like a cheap, put together thing. It's like they're rubbish. They're not very good at their job. So they're a bit of a Mickey Mouse outfit.
So I've never understood. I think, and it's funny because of course we know how the money and stuff that Disney puts into
exactly
the movies, and I think in my brain, because I know how the other stuff works, my brain always hears Mickey Mouse operation as in when Mickey, Donald, and Goofy are going to do a thing, it always goes wrong. It's run poorly. It's done. You know what I mean? Because it's not like they're going, we're a real Disney World situation, aren't we? Because then you'd be like, well, actually, they make a lot of money and stuff. You know, I think it's that it's a Mickey Mouse operation out of like, our group might as well be Goofy, Donald, and Mickey trying to.
Okay, that makes sense. Because it is interesting, isn't it?
But for all I know, I could be interpreting it that way because of what I know about the parks and stuff. So,
yes.
But yes, that's a pretty common phrase that you hear a lot.
But it is strange how you can get away with saying Mickey Mouse, but not Betty Boop.
I know, that is weird.
Licensing and contracts and stuff are so weird, aren't they?
Oh, we can't. That's a whole, we can do a whole nother thing on that. I know way more about that than I ever want to.
So we get to the point where they end up in quarantine, and I do want to bring the trivia up because I know it's your...
Well, before you hit that, I just want to say this because it plays into that. I just want to say this. This is I had said in the previous episode that there are things that are popping up that I feel like have been in the show the whole time and actually haven't. This is the first official appearance of the mention of the Space Corps directives, which happens just prior to being put into quarantine.
Okay, yes, right.
And that blew my mind when I read that and I'm like, well, yeah, we haven't seen it really yet. It was such a core part of my dwarf mythology. And if you read, it says they mentioned a couple times, like there are some mentions to like Space Corps ideals and stuff, but not the Space Corps directives. You know, chapter 3, paragraph 2.
Is that true?
Is not. Yeah, it was in one of the trivia bits.
So Creighton has never mentioned Space Corps Directive, blah, 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 prior to this episode.
No.
That's bizarre because I feel like it has been.
And it does say that there's a reference, like, according to the Space Corps, we're responsible for, like, there's been like a
reference to it, but not specific.
Like, yes, here's Space Corps Directive. Like that whole thing.
That's weird.
Because because you know what's nuts for it to be the first appearance? He says, according to Space Corps Directive 25, and Rimmer's like, oh, please spare me, Space Corps Directive. And he's like, has anyone seen it? The book doesn't bloody exist, does it? And it hasn't. But the way it's delivered as is if we have seen it in several episodes, or at least talked about it.
Yeah, I feel like that's weird. I feel like it has been, but that's so bizarre. I'm going to Google it just to make sure.
Yeah, but if I had to go back and search, and I couldn't find any other literally that way as Space Corps Directive referenced. So in theory, it is a first appearance.
So apparently Queeg mentioned. So according to reddwarf.fandom.com, a prelude to the Space Corps directives were featured in the episode Queeg, where Holly, masquerading as Queeg 500, would use articles to force the crew to work as well as perform other unsavory tasks. When first introduced, the directives were used by Crichton to coerce Arnold Rimmer into acting for the common good, or to highlight the less than exemplary behaviour of the rest of the crew. For example, I don't know what it is you think you're doing, but boarding this vessel is an act of war, ergo we surrender, and as a prisoner I am invoking all nations agreement article, blah, blah, blah.
That's what I mean, but it hasn't been the Space Corps Directive, which I just thought had happened a million times, but it hasn't. And specifically in this way, antagonistically against Rimmer.
No.
Which might make sense. It sounds like it's something in one way that Crichton has just recently downloaded and learned everything to, or well, I have to work with these guys. They were part of the Space Corps.
That's so weird.
Isn't that weird? Because it feels like something that has been going on for a while.
Yes. That's really odd.
Yeah.
That's strange.
So I'd love that. Show me the book. Boop.
Yeah.
Go read that at your leisure on the way back. It's so good.
Once again, though, Holly gets absolutely nothing to do in this episode.
Nope.
Nothing at all, other than the fact he's locked the doors, we can't get in. And Holly, will you furnish him with a book? Will you furnish him with a copy of the directives book? And that's it. That's all she gets to do in virtually the entire episode.
Yeah. Again, doing a good job of the crew who was live and right there. But yeah, but Holly left out to try.
It's weird, isn't it? When you look back, I know there was only Lister and Rimmer and Kat a little bit. And Holly was so much more in those first two seasons a part of the crew. And now she just isn't at all.
I think it helped when this, literally, you were just on one set all the time. And each set had a screen and you could,
That's fair. Yeah, but then they've set the precedent that she can be on, Crichton's little circular TV screen thing, or on Rimmer's watch. It's not like not Rimmer's watch, sorry, Lister's watch. It's not like we haven't taken Holly elsewhere.
Right.
But then I guess maybe that's a budgetary thing.
Maybe. Yeah. It might be an effect. An easy effect to do now, harder than,
Yeah, would probably cost a bit more. But yeah, moving forward to them being into quarantine. I know this is one of your favourite sections of this episode, very specifically, Blake, but apparently, according to the trivia, it took them 57 minutes to film this 3-minute scene with Kat, Lister and Crichton arguing in the quarantine bay because the cast kept getting the lines wrong and just breaking down with laughter. The producers were worried that it would... so they'd only booked the studio for 2.5 hours, and it took them, more than... just less than half the time to record 3 minutes. I mean, that episode is bizarre. I can imagine it, a bunch of kids all just farting around and just cracking up, because you know what it's like. Once you start laughing, that's it.
Well, no, that thing about the scene is they have to be serious and looking at each other like they want to kill each other the whole time, which makes it all the worse.
But then come out with all this inane crap blowing your nose at that annoying gurgling sound, sir, and then why you have to look at it. I don't know what you're expecting to see in there, sir.
I love there we are. 2 hours. 2 hours the panel beat my head back into shape. 2 damn hours. There's, oh my God. I mean, yes, Crichton's, but Kara was like, you have this memorized? I'm like, I do. The whole if you want to live, if you want to still be alive when there's 78 more days to go, I suggest you do not blow your nose.
Yes. It's funny. Something I noticed. So when they kind of calm down and like Crichton brings up the fact that Lister's sitting there with that inane grin on his face, which he does so well, by the way. And it's like, well, you don't blow your nose and don't do this, or don't say we'll get through this. And Crichton, you don't. I can't remember what it is he does. The cat, according to what we know, doesn't do anything to piss anybody else off. It's just Lister and Crichton. Like, they don't tell him to stop doing anything. Cat tells Lister to stop doing stuff. Or, like, Crichton tells Lister to stop doing stuff, and Lister tells Crichton not to do stuff, but no one tells the cat to stop doing anything.
Stop doing anything. The cat just does as he mentions, when two male tigers are locked into a cage together, one of them ends up the other one's toothpick. But he does have his, like, whatever. I'll take your neck bolts off. Frankenstein was the creator, not the monster. Yes. A misconception only held by very truly stupid people. like get my feckles up. It's hackles, you moron. Hackles.
Yeah. Hackles, feckles, schmeckles, whatever it is. It's so funny. Yeah.
Up and pointing at you, bud.
It goes back to very much that dynamic of the first couple of series. I think that's why I enjoyed this episode so much. It feels like an early episode. It's like Tetchy, and then he's like, it's a good job, I can't hear you, sir. And he writes it down on the whiteboard. Right, that's it. You've done it now. I'm putting it on. No. He's putting it on. I'm putting it on.
I love Lister doing, because Rimmer had mentioned, according to Space Coach Corrective, you're locked in here, but you got to provide entertainment. Well, I have, there's the crocheting book and all this, and Lister's like making the little things to go on his hat and stuff. Like,
yeah, there's a chessboard with 31 missing pieces.
We're going to get through this.
Stop saying
we're going to get through this.
So brilliant. What I love. So again, this is something I wanted to bring up. We talked about a lot in the first couple of series, is how they went too far with jokes sometimes. You know, where we said they would...
stop right there.
So they would tell a joke, but then really overemphasize that what the joke was. We've learned a lot, because there's a scene in this where... Crichton's talking about the fact that it's only a one berth room. There's only one bed, there's only one shower, it's only meant for one person. And Rimmer comes in and says, basically, I have to give one berth per registered crew member. And because Lister is the only registered crew member, that's all I have to give you. And it's like, but the problem is, it's well known that the human male needs their personal space. And he's like, are you telling me, like, why is that? And it's like, well, everyone knows that... some of the things that most men like to do on their own are things that they need to do on their own, like angling, and I can't remember what the second one was, and then we all know what the most famous one is, and then we leave it.
The all-time number one.
Yes, we just leave it. Whereas I feel if they'd have told that joke back in series 1 or 2, there would have been something else on the end of that to overemphasize what that joke was.
Series 3 had the best example of doing it wrong. Because he eats the dog food and he goes, now I know why dogs look on testicles. And it's hysterical. And then he has to deliver the line over the audience saying, because the food's so bad. Like, no, you didn't need to say that.
No.
Like,
exactly. And we've learned from that now, where this is perfect, because you know what the answer is, but we're just going to leave it there.
Even buzzards. You telling me buzzards kick up with the issue of what carcass?
Yeah, I wrote that down. What Carcass magazine. Brilliant.
You're right though. This quarantine bit, and again, I feel in my brain, this is like 15 minutes of the episode, like in my memory of it, because it's so good and there's so much that happens in a short time. But this moment feels very old Red Dwarf. We're stuck in this one room. We're all stuck on this ship together. That's a good shout out.
It really is. But again, I think sometimes, like, we know from movies and going back to your thing, Blake, Horror Nights, like theme parks and stuff, some of the best ideas come out of having to work around budget cuts.
Yep.
And I think
you gotta get creative.
Yeah, and I think this episode definitely has that. The fact that we know that it's one of the cheaper episodes made. I love Rimmer's absolutely loving playing by the book. The fact that Crichton's been rubbing his face in it for. All right, it's only been mentioned in this episode, but you feel like he has been barking these directives at Rimmer for so long. And the fact that he can now flip it around on Crichton, he is loving every second of it.
And I do love when Chris Berry does one of his impressions of Crichton. Space Corps directive.
Yeah.
Like, I love when he imitates. We get his impersonation skills into an episode.
And I find it hilarious how far things have come. You have no idea where I'm going with this, by the way, right? So in 2025, a dish that apparently has become quite an upper scale starter on the menu is Brussels sprouts. I don't understand why Brussels sprouts have suddenly become like this gourmet thing on menus anymore, right? But if you go back to 1980 when we were kids and you were getting forced to eat them and you hate them, the fact that Rimmer's like, your meals for the day will be, what was it, sprout soup followed by sprout something other and sprout crumble. And then his line of, oh, actually, it looks like you've got sprouts for nearly every meal. Oh, sorry, my bad. It is every meal.
The thing is, as a kid, what you're saying, I knew about Brussels sprouts because of all the jokes and TV shows about hating Brussels sprouts.
Right.
And I worked for a guy that used to be a restaurant. It was a restaurateur, and hung out with him. Time he kind of taught me how to do some cooking stuff. We're gonna do Brussels sprouts, and I don't know. I was like my mid-20s, and I was like, I just remember no one likes Brussels sprouts. He goes, it's because of how they do. Let me show you. And like I'm like, this is delicious. This is awesome. Like, and I unabashedly now love Brussels sprouts.
Oh my
Let me
God.
roast them in the oven for you. Drizzle them with a little bit of sriracha and honey and soy sauce. So good. At the end of the day, they're just small cabbages. I had a whole argument on my other podcast with my buddy Ferris because he's like, Brussels sprouts. I went, wait, you don't like Brussels sprouts? No.
Nope.
You are Irish and talking about your mom making the best corned beef and cabbage all the time. Brussels sprouts are cabbage. He's like, no, they're not. I'm like,
no.
Yeah, yes, they are.
I agree with Ferris.
They're baby cabbage. You guys are crazy.
So I hated Brussels sprouts as a kid. The smell, it just makes me balk. And so I will not touch them, right? And they've suddenly become, so we're going to pull the curtain back. For anyone listening, we've talked about our backgrounds of how we got to know each other. So, Blake, we went out for dinner at Cowfish with Mr. and Mrs. ILO a few years ago, and they got the roasted Brussels sprouts for the table. And I was like, and even Tracy's like, oh, these are so damn good. And they were all eating. I'm like,
oh, no, Tracy got you under the bus for that one.
I do not care how nice you say they are. I cannot bring myself to try them. And I didn't. Because in my memory, in my brain, Brussels sprouts are the most horrid thing on the planet, and I just can't get past that. So even if I'm eating them and they are the most delicious things ever, my brain will be telling me these are going to make you throw up.
You know damn well sprouts make me choke. I love the way he says that.
Nah, just can't do it.
Oh, God, that makes me happy.
So we've talked about it so much on this show, the random tangents we go on. So we've had whole conversations about cheese toasties.
Yep.
And now we're going about Brussels sprouts.
Hey, it was related to the show.
It was.
Ooh, another note, I have a first time seeing something. We got this. Boys from the Dwarf.
Yes.
Boys from the Dwarf.
With the hands. Yeah, it's funny that with this long, because that feels like it's such a Red Dwarf trope, and it's took us 5 series to get there. Like nearly at the end of 5 series.
And as we said, we're about to get to Mr. Flibbles, who only appears once, but yet is iconic in the Red Dwarf fandom.
Oh my God, that is the best bit ever.
Well, and this is one of those like, God, how well this is put together. This quarantine argument they're all having with each other, how much they hate living with each other for 5 days in quarantine, is so good and funny that when it stops and you just hear the disembodied voice, I remember going, hello, gentlemen, that makes for interesting listening. Like, you're like, oh you can
creepy.
feel like this is about to get better. Like it just stacks on itself so well. And each thing is better and better and better and funnier. God, the reveal of Rimmer.
in that red gingham dress.
Oh, with the 2 ponytails or pigtails sticking out. It's just, I'm sitting in a red, nothing's amiss. I'm sitting in a red checkered gingham dress and you're telling me nothing, in army boots, and nothing's amiss.
It's when they go, something about the Potato King. And he's like, so let me get this straight. You're waiting for the Potato King to come and rescue you I can't remember what the exact
Oh,
line.
no, so I wrote this down. So let me get this straight. You want to fly in a magic carpet
Yes, that's
to see
right.
the king of the potato people and plead with him for your freedom. And you're telling me you're completely sane. And you just see them like, oh.
And then you wonder, like, was he doing that to kind of trip them up? Or was he initially just that, like, he is that mad?
He's that nuts. God, I love it so much. And the reveal of Mr. Flibbles.
Oh my God. It's like, what happens to naughty boys who've been naughty, Mr. Flibble? Uncle Arnie fries them alive with his hex vision. I love that sort of Manchester, sort of Lancashire accent that he comes out with. Uncle Arnie fries them alive with his hex vision. I love it so much.
It's so good. And like my wife's like, God, he's so good. Even his minor puppeteering, like you can tell he practiced just enough to get things like when he talks, what should we do? And he whispers in his ear.
Yes.
But then he makes the puppet turn, so his two eyeballs are looking at camera. Do you know what I mean? Like sideways, as if the puppet's doing side eye. God.
Oh, when he's angry and he's got him like slightly shaking.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's hilarious, man. So we've left out something that was such a huge, it ended up being a huge part of this episode, but was kind of it was there and left to go, that when we were back on whatever the space station was, that they've found out that that Hildegard Langstrom figured out that there was two types of virus. There was a negative virus, like a flu or something like that, but then also a positive virus. And they end up with the luck virus, which made me think of Harry Potter, by the way, like massively, the Felix Felicis. And he's like, he injects Lister with it, doesn't he? And then he's like, pick out all the aces from the deck, sir. And he's like, 13-1. 252-1. And he's like, right, now try throwing this dart at that bullseye over there with your back turned with your left hand. And he's like, no way. And he's like, well, I guess your luck's rode off, sir. And it's like stuck in the back of his head. But that obviously comes to this point. So I have a question to ask. So they figure out how to get out of that quarantine place by injecting Lister with the virus and then him guessing the security code for the keypad. So I have two questions. Why is the security pad on the inside of that room? Wouldn't it be on the outside? Why would it be on the inside? Why would they have the opportunity for the people in quarantine to somehow know that security code and get out?
I guess. Okay.
Surely it would be on the other side for the person who's put them in quarantine.
You're right. And then my brain goes into like safety mode, like all the safety rules and regulations and stuff that exist in our world right now. And I'm thinking like, is this one of those where safety wise, you'd still want some way in case something crazy occurred, or like you ran yourself into quarantine and everyone died and the ship's computer's like, everyone died. Here's the code to get out. I don't know. Like I see what you're saying, but I also could see an argument for like the rules and stuff we have to have, the equivalent of like, you have to have the door pusher open thing inside of a freezer, right?
But then there's nothing, there's nothing on the other side of the door. When they open the door and get out, there's nothing on the other side.
No, it should be. That's the thing. It should be mirrored. You should see one like it on the other side.
You could argue, I guess it's like there's a wherever Rimmer is, it could potentially be a control panel there, I guess.
Right. That's true.
It was just weird that it was there. But that whole scene is just awesome. And then, like, fry Uncle Arnie, he's going to fry you alive with his hex vision. Just makes me laugh every time.
Well, and Rimmer, I love that we get two sides of Rimmer. Another bit we skipped early on is when he's talking to the guys and because they wanted him to leave so they could get Langstrom, and he's about to leave Starbug. He's like, hey, remember you there? We need backup, man. It's bad. It's yada yada. And he's like, hello, Listy. How are things going? and he's like, marvelous. Like
that's the most Rimmer delivery of marvelous ever.
And when he talks to Dr. Langstrom and she's like, do you want to know a riddle? Do tell Dr. Fruit Loop.
Yeah. See, that's a weird reference.
Dr.
Right?
Fruit Loop?
Yeah, because we, as far as I'm aware, we didn't have Fruit Loops. So we've talked about those English references going away and it becoming more Americanized because, well, we know from the last episode that we were in that time slot now of them looking at making a US pilot. But Fruit Loops weren't a cereal that I remember as a kid. I mean, I might have had cheap parents and whatever. We can get them now, but generally they're still imported. They're not made over here. So it's like $5 a box, like a ridiculous price for Fruit Loops. Like a lot of the stuff that's imported from the US. And we don't have to pay tariffs on them, by the way. That's the bubble we're living in right now.
You probably have less artificial colors than we do in them.
No,
too,
it will
well.
be. I don't think it's imported. I don't think the stuff. If we get Fruit Loops over, like we can get Takis, it's like 3 times the price they are in the US, which I won't pay, even though I adore those things. But it's not. They're not manufactured over here. The stuff we will be getting is from over there, but as far as I'm aware, in 1990 we couldn't buy Fruit Loops.
That's funny. That's a great.
So it's an interesting reference to reference Fruit Loops, which isn't something. I'm going to look it up. Actually, is it spelled double O? That's a ridiculous question. It is, yes.
No, I think it's Fruit. It's not Fruit Loops.
No,
like
it's not. It is FROOTLOO.
Wait, is it?
Yep, I'm just seeing the box. Shows how.
God, I feel like I'm having a Mandela effect right now. You're right. Dang, yeah, because you have to have it's the circles of the cereal do it. Man, how about I've stared at that my whole life and never.
Well, why would you?
Yeah, that's never occurred to me. That's
just
hysterical.
Double check, but I think originally they were red and green were added in the 1990s. Loops all shells have been used in the UK.
It says they've been there for a while.
I can't find.
Okay, the problem is you never know, right? The AI summary that Google puts out, you're like, oh, how much can I?
Wikipedia.
How much can I trust this? Because it said.
Oh yeah, you ignore them. When did? Sorry,
everyone.
There's
a snacks encyclopedia wiki about Fruit Loops. Of course there is, talking about British stuff. Everybody loves everything. That's hysterical.
So according to the AI overview, Fruit Loops were originally introduced in 1963. While the exact UK launch date isn't explicitly mentioned in search results, the product has been available in the UK for a long time.
But it wasn't like popular. Like you say that it's not like it was.
I don't remember seeing them at all.
That's wild. Go on, do tell, Dr. Fruit Loop.
Yeah, so it makes me think, let's go back. I feel if you made this joke in series 1 or 2, it wouldn't have been Fruit Loop. It would have been something else. I don't know what.
It would have been, some weird, obscure.
Yeah, some cereal that went out of circulation in like the 50s.
Right, like obscure for England as well as any English or American person watching. Yeah.
So it's interesting that I think, again, like I say, we've talked about it quite a lot of sort of US references coming in there. Although it's been there for a while, like we said, with the middle finger sort of being interchangeable with the V's, which again, remembering back to that time, we would have flicked the V's rather than the middle finger. The middle finger was a very American thing back then. So we have seen that as early as Better Than Life?
Yep, Better Than Life. That was the first one. A cat flips off Rimmer.
So that was series 2?
Yep.
So there has been that there, but like I say, it's interesting to watch them back to back like we have and seen those very British references slowly peter out and then sort of US references kind of slowly eke in a little bit. And I think this is definitely one of them because I feel...
you get some American references as well as it's now able to reference it's like the Schmieg moment. It's referencing itself too.
It's like multicultural now rather than being very British when it first started.
According to the trivia in the last episode too, we now know they are courting, trying to get produced in the US. So now that makes a lot of sense.
But then the argument is, why Americanize this when you're already looking to make an American version? Let this be what it is and let the American one be what the American one is. I don't understand why you would try and make this one more palatable.
Well, I'm guessing it sounds like to get the producers in America on board with you know what? Okay, yeah, we'll pay for a pilot. I think that's what it
That makes sense. So it's going to be interesting to see. You kind of talked about it where we're going to get to the end of Series 6 and then look at that pilot because that's kind of when it would have come out. It's going to be interesting to see if there is a change, I don't know whether you know this, and if you do, please keep it to yourself because I want a surprise. Whether Red Dwarf changes going into Series 7, knowing that there's an American pilot out there, whether we go backwards a little bit and some of those British references come back into it or not.
Oh, I don't remember what the time is between 6 and 7.
That's going to be interesting to see.
I feel like there's a large chunk of time between the two, but that's because it took me a bit to get to them.
Yes. It will be interesting to see that though.
I don't know. Yeah. That is kind of wild.
Yeah.
God, I love this episode. I love I look down at my notes and I see something else like, oh God, I love this episode.
Well, we talk about Mr. Flibble, and I think does he have like 2 lines in the whole thing?
Yeah, that's it. The rest of it is like whispering in his ear and stuff like, we can't do that, Mr. Flibbles. Who would clean up the mess?
He's brilliant. Rimmer's brilliant.
I love the absolute cheesiness of like when they first run away, the guys, and then they're Uncle Arnie fries with a hex vision, and they run away from the hex vision blast, and they get in that next room, and it's like, well, he's almost certainly got psychic powers now, and possibly even telekinesis. Fa-boom, and then the door opens to the
axe behind them,
axe, and it's so loud, but it doesn't. You see it behind them, and they're telegraphing it so much. It's funny, like just like the map, and it's like, and I love the cats like who's this? Like, but the ability to move with objects of the mind. When that thing goes forward, friggin' Crichton's like, Crichton, are you all right? I have a medium-sized fire axe buried in my spinal column, sir. That thing can really put a crimp on your day.
There's some pretty good effects in this as well for a cheaper episode. The telekinesis bits, although I do want to bring up, what was with the weird like eyes overlay on certain parts? Well, no, I think that was Langstrom, and then being talked about, she's got psychic powers, and then saying Rimmer's got them. Their psychicness, that's why Langstrom finds them. She can use her mind and know what they're talking about and know where they are. All right, so that's what Rimmer. So when it does like the cat's talking and there's like his eyes over the top, that's Rimmer. He knows what they're doing, which is like, oh, they're in this room. I can use my telekinesis to grab this axe and like throw it. And this is where, as we said in the previous episode, just let Robert Llewellyn perform the glitches. And it's a great one. He rips out that axe and he's like, and he's like, thank you, sir. Like, now let's go win self-determination for these South Moldavian people. It just comes off so much better. Like I say, it really annoyed me in those early episodes when they would do like a digital glitch, but then sort of blend it into him doing it himself, and it jarred so much. I love this. There. I think I'm better now. I can win self-determination. It's such random lines and beating his head onto the corner of the like. It's just way better. It's way better when he does it. And then even the cool effect then of Rimmer like having Mr. Flibbles burn with his hex vision. That was the wall out. Again. And this was the cheap episode. This is the cheap one. And it's so good. Even the hex vision's really good. Yeah, it is. Because some of those, like you go back to Star Wars, like let's go Return of the Jedi. I always find when those electrical fingers from the Emperor is a little wonky, and like this looks as good as that. Yeah. Because those were, and these might have been too. Those were hand drawn animation. Yeah. And it looks like just a little. It looks like just a little off. But I love just the whole thing of like. You could just be a one-off gag of him being in this Czech gingham dress, but it's the way Rimmer owns this moment, this bit of being nuts, and that like, he's got that moment of like, I don't like crazy people. Then he gets weird. It's brilliant. He must have been having an absolute blast. I mean, again, no wonder it took him forever to film because how do you keep a straight face with any of this stuff? But, to be cheap, they go from a hallway they already have and they run into another room to do this bit with the axe. Like, it is actually cheap, but it feels like it's so much happening that it's a good use of make this the cheap episode, but it does not like feel it. It doesn't at all. So going back, the last episode of Series 6 came out on the 11th of November, 1993. The first episode of Series 7 came out on the 17th of January, 1997. Okay, so there is a big gap in that one. Yeah, like 3 years. Nearly 3.5 years. No more. When did I say?
I feel like that
November.
one had a lot. And that's why I didn't watch it, because then I was getting ready to go to university.
Yes. I thought you were going
And
to
so
say
I went to
Universal
and
there.
that's-
It's funny when I hear the word uni and I'm like, Universal? All right, no, University. All right, that makes sense.
But yeah, so I fell out of it and didn't get back until I went to Japan and like for Disney in 04, and then was like, oh, LimeWire. Can I find Red Dwarf episodes?
Oh my God, there's a blast from the past. December, January. So yeah, like just over 3 years. That's a big gap.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the episode titles. I probably shouldn't. Let's just take that out.
And in case anyone is listening from the BBC, hey, I am buying these episodes, these series as they come out. So sorry I did that on LimeWire, but I know it now.
Yeah, not on Peacock, by the way. Oh, I go back to when we said, about having the red borders, and I was like, I'm pretty sure mine only had it at the top. No, it does have it at the bottom, but it's just, so the top border is very red. The bottom border is a much darker red, so it wasn't as blatantly obvious the first time I watched it. So it is definitely there. But yeah, I want to see more of Mr. Fibble. Mr. Flibble, I'm so annoyed that we got... It's funny how much it's... This is going to go random. It's interesting that how much that name burned into my brain, because I used to call people Mr. Flibble just like randomly, like people at school or at college or whatever. I'd just like start randomly calling them Mr. Flibble, obviously because of this.
Well, and I like this is, we're playing with the same cast, but we're giving people opportunities, like when Robin Llewellyn got to be himself as a human, and now Rimmer gets to be bonkers. And, obviously we've seen Rimmer be super smart and things like that. Like, I love the guys getting to do different stuff,
Yes.
With their characters and how they perform. And I just adore this version of Rimmer. If there was an action figure of this, I would buy it in a heartbeat.
You get it with the removable gingham dress.
Yeah, and removable, like Mr. Flibble's
Yes.
hand. Yeah, like, exactly. Yeah. Oh God, with like in a heartbeat. And I even love the wrap ups. Like, how they get out of this? Oh, your luck. And it's like, oh, right.
Yeah.
Right,
Oh yeah, and he's like, we need this and that, and it's like he doesn't really put them together either. He just puts one on top of the other and then plugs the other thing in the side, and that's good enough to get rid of him.
If I remember correctly, you know how he's like, we need to find a so-and-so holographic relay. Whoa, like this one? Oh, yes. And we also need to find a something power like this. Extraordinary. And then the camera cuts and it's to Crichton's side, and it's like he's talking to Lister, but you don't see Lister's face. And he's like, now I just need a 5701 / something SR2 diode, whatever he says.
Yep.
And he's like, look at this. Ah, perfect. And my memory serves correct, there's a reason that there's a cut that's a weird angle that only shows him. And it is because I believe in one of the Smeg ups, he cannot say what that transistor is. And Craig Charles is holding up his lines and just off camera. So they just finally go, screw it. And they make it a separate shot, put it, and he's holding up I need a stroke 178B so-and-so transistor. Like, and that's why if you go back and watch it, you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll be like, oh, that is kind of an odd little show. I saw, but I think that goes back to one of the Smeg ups that would be on the later DVDs and stuff.
Just
introduced by Patrick Stewart, I believe one of them.
Okay, that's bizarre, but yeah, I'm just looking at the trivia there. So the Mr. Flibble hand puppet wasn't originally meant to be the actual one; it was a temporary one.
This.
And so they bought like several dozen other hand puppets from the charity shops, but none of them, like they all decided that none of those other ones were amusing, so they just went ahead with the penguin, which is brilliant.
Well, and that how he was using it was so funny.
Yes.
Like, oh God.
I just looked it up. He literally has 2 lines. He has Uncle Arnie fries him alive with his hex vision and game over, boys. That's it.
Game over, boys. That's right.
it. How is he such an amazing character? And he literally has 2 lines.
Well, talking of one-upping and keep layering on a next better thing, Rimmer's in the check gingham dress. Oh my God. Now we've even layered up from the quarantine argument we just had. And then Mr. Flibbles pops out and like layers on top of that. Somehow the check gingham dress almost disappears.
Yes.
And it's now all about Mr. Flibbles. Yeah.
So good, man. So good. Oh my God. But
so again, what did you...
Oh, are we at that point? Are we ready? I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet.
What do you rate it?
No, I'm not ready yet.
Oh, you're not ready?
No, we talked about it again, but just reading off the trivia that the time constraints coupled with the fact that it was pitched as a cheap show, which is interesting, meant that the script wasn't developed as well as Rob Grant and Doug Naylor had hoped, but it was a cheap show that others could be affordable. And it's interesting how we love this episode so much, and it was literally just there to allow them to make other episodes, basically. And it just goes to show that, like you say, sometimes, what is it? I can't remember what the
necessity is like the mother of invention.
Yeah, like exactly. That's exactly the line I was thinking of. How well we think alike.
I don't think it's any secret. I really like Star Wars. And that's where Yoda came from. It was, God, we want to do all this stuff. We wanted Yoda to run around and teach Luke, but it's his puppet. We can't really do that. And then someone had the idea. They talk about it like on set with Irving Kirk. They're like, it's like, what if he's like in a backpack?
Yeah.
And that's like the most iconic thing people remember, you know, but it was not a plan. It was we can't do what
How
we
do
want.
we do?
I guess we'll just do this. And it ends up being like, oh, actually, that's perfect. Like, that's so cool. Like he can, and it made, of course, an iconic thing that still goes on to this day. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like Jaws.
Yeah.
You know, how well documented it is that the shark never worked properly. And yet everyone still, funnily enough, we're in the 50th anniversary of that film coming out, and it's still regarded as one of the greatest films ever. And how different it would have been if they could have got it to do what they wanted it to do.
It would have been like a horror schlock film.
Yeah. It would have been...
Yeah.
It wouldn't have the same prestige that it does now. It's like you look... Again, we've talked about it a lot. Look at Alien. How much do you actually see the alien in Alien?
None. And all I want to do is see it more because of it.
But that's good, yeah. And even in the second one, for all there's more of them, you still don't get to see a lot of... You don't really see them.
So I just watched the second one again recently. It was Alien Day the past week. It was 4/26. We had to watch...
nice.
Yeah, so we watched a bunch of them. And you're right. In Aliens, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. The Queen is the only creature you see for more than like I'm not 2 second shot. Yeah. Like they are very fast. And part of the reason is they wanted them to move quicker and crazy like they were really attacking at people. Yes. So they were just wearing like black leotards with pieces of the alien on them. So if you ever see behind the scenes footage, they don't look great. But in this, they look so good because it's super, super fast. You can't, and it's perfect, right?
It's so like good.
You said, but he had to do it that way. And nowadays, if someone was making it, you could be like, oh, we could have him do all this stuff. And like, actually, please don't do that because it ruins it.
Yeah, look at Alien Resurrection, where it's like, we've got CG now, we can show them in all their glory, and it's...
I remember in the theater, the only shot I thought actually was cool was the underwater.
Yes,
because it was neat to see them, but they weren't moving like you expect. When they first shot of the alien walking by someone from behind, I went, oh no, I know it looks that way. I've seen the comics, I've got toys. I don't like that. I did not like seeing that.
No.
Yeah.
It's funny, I'm actually playing a PS5 game at the moment called Dying Light 2. I don't know whether you're aware of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the characters I've just come across is called Wizbowski, and I'm like, oh, okay, I know that name from Aliens. That's cool.
There's no way that's not in that game.
It must be. It must be like a reference to that. I was like, that is not a name you hear otherwise. But I know we're not talking about Aliens, but I just want that first scene where they're going under the power cooler to find out where all the colonists are, and like suddenly everything starts moving. It's one of the greatest scenes in any movie. It's so intense. It's so well shot. It's just
I love it.
Awesome.
I can't get. This is another off topic. It frustrates me. I can't go buy a new audio. Sounds great, but I don't know if I like the 4K cleanup because I can almost see too much.
Right.
Especially in that scene. I'm like, oh, there's where the alien was. I never noticed that before. And it's like, while it's neat from me to see it, I wish I had a version that was like, here's the everything's so clear. You can see all the behind the scenes almost. But then it's like doing a haunted house walk tour during the day. Cool.
Yes.
But I want to go see it at night again when it's really running because that's how it. And I hate that we're kind of moving to this age of getting such high fidelity that like some things don't work because they were made in such a way to be like, well, you weren't supposed to see this, and I'm enjoying, again, that's why that Peacock, it looks weird, but they're doing a 4K upscaling and I don't prefer it on the Red Dwarf. I like it like this, where I cannot see the markers that have colored in Kat's outfit.
So anyway, going back to the question you asked about 5 minutes ago before we went off on a massive alien tangent. I gave it a 7. I love it, but like it's a high 7. Does that make sense? I'm still leaving space because you know what's coming. So it's easy for you to go, well, if I give this a 9, then what's better than that? And I want to leave space again. But this is a high 7 for me, for definite. It is such a good episode. Like it, as I said already, it definitely feels like an older episode, which again really plays into what I love about Red Dwarf. Everyone gets their day in the sun, apart from Holly. Rimmer's brilliant, Crichton's brilliant, Kat's brilliant, Lister's brilliant. The 3 of them together, the 4 of them together, just so good. It is just one of the quintessential episodes of Red Dwarf, 100%.
9 Mr. Flibbles out of 10 is what I gave this one. And now that you were just talking, I went, I am so dumb. We need to make ourselves a Google document that has the episodes and what you and I rank them as.
We should have done.
Especially so that when we go back and go, okay, now I need to do my top 5 again. How did I rank? Do you know what I mean? Like, how did I do these and stuff? I should have done that.
I'm sure I could go through our episodes. Yeah, I'm sure I could go through our episodes because it's only a little spot. I'm sure I could find the point because it's near the end. I'm sure I could find what we've rated everyone out of 10.
Heck, just make it. Fill out your side. I'll fill out mine because I got it in my notes. Like, but we should totally have that just to track how we're doing. It's hard for me not to swing a little high for these.
I know
these mean the world to me. God, I love these particular episodes. With I think what is my favorite is coming, but again, I reserve it for. We have both had moments of, oh my God, this one's one of the best, and when we watch it, we go, oh, I look at this differently than I did before, or one I thought wasn't one that I particularly liked that I end up going, I actually like this better than I realized,
and I love that. I love when that happens.
Yeah, I have a suspicion just because it will feel different from our dwarf. There are going to be things in the newer ones that we don't feel right about, but I still think we're going to hit on some stuff that surprises us how much we like it. Or how much we enjoy certain things. It's been fun watching this again this way and being open to surprise and being surprised by stuff. It really is fun.
I'm just looking ahead to the next 2 episodes after this. Episode 5, I don't have any memory of.
Love it.
I have no memory of it whatsoever. Episode 6, on the other hand, again, I feel like I don't specifically remember the episode beat for beat, but like this episode we've been talking about, there is something in that episode that is quintessentially Red Dwarf. Like, I still see things like that posted in the Red Dwarf fan groups that I'm in on Facebook daily.
Because you never know. I can't Yep.
Cool.
I think it's funny. We talked about a couple episodes ago, but I didn't talk about it in the last episode or 2. But it's also interesting to go through and see like where these things get ranked on the IMDb list by people. And this is a high one. You know, this is 8.9, top rated as it's considered for this season. It's 8.9. It's the next to highest rated one.
What was the last one then, Blake?
That was an 8. Okay. Inquisitor was 8.2 and Hollowship was 8.2.
Okay. Interesting. I don't want to look at them prior to what we're doing because I don't want it to kind of influence it, even though I'm stubborn, I won't anyway, but...
Oh, yeah. Some of them I agree with, others I'm like, you're crazy. Well, season 1 doesn't rate well. And I think it's because it's not folks like you and me rating it. It's people who are probably watching it now and then going, you know what I mean? Like there's
a lot of nostalgia there for us.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, that's important, you know?
Yeah. I wonder how many people are watching Red Dwarf now for the first time.
Well, think about it. It's like, what is that? Jon Stewart, when he was interviewing George Lucas, and he's like, my kid told me his favorite movie was Phantom Menace, and I told him he was wrong. It's Empire Strikes Back. But he was talking to George about the context of like, but that I have nostalgia for yours first ones. My kid now has nostalgia for your prequels that were, you know, that plays into it.
Of course it does.
Absolutely. And so I think that's why the first couple seasons don't skew well.
Yeah, I get that.
On stuff like IMDb, because you're talking about ratings that are now.
Yeah.
It's like when someone talks about the Rotten Tomato score of a movie from the 70s. I'm like, that doesn't mean anything.
No.
Like, it doesn't mean anything
I am
because it's out of its time, you know?
I'm still very hopeful that we will see the return of the word goit at some point in the future.
We did stumble across. I just saw your goit counter and was like, man, that's got to come back.
We haven't had one for a long time.
No, we haven't. We do have a new one. We do have another favorite one, the insult that's coming, but we'll get to that in a few episodes. Okay. Got done from a very good performer that has a guest star.
Oh, okay.
Well, that brings us, I believe, to the end of the podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Dwarf Memory and Twitter at Dwarf_Memory for all show updates.
Again, please subscribe, rate, and review the show wherever you can, and you can email us your comments and thoughts to us at dwarfmemory@gmail.com.
The next episode we'll be discussing will be Series 5, Episode 5, Demons and Angels. So make sure to watch before you listen to the episode.
Game over, boys.
I think he's going to be okay, sir.
He's going to be okay. The luck virus must have worn off. Braswell, you okay?
What happened to me? Where am I?
Quarantine. But don't worry, we're here to entertain you.